Cody Alexander, MatchQuarters. The NFL has quickly become a nickel-based defensive ecosystem, and it's challenging defenses to really look at who is playing that most important spot, the nickel. Now, we want somebody that can cover, and we want somebody that can fit into the box. And there's ways that the defense can then structure in line in order to protect that player. Now, what you want in a modern nickel is somebody who doesn't have to come off the field regardless of the personnel usage. Now, against 13 personnel, you're probably going to go base, but what about these 12 personnel sets that have become even more popular? Offenses in the NFL are now running more 12 personnel, but they're doing it with 11 personnel plays. So they're challenging these defenses in matchups. So you want to keep your nickel on as much as possible. The Lions have Brian Branch, and in 1 year, he has accelerated himself to the top of the nickel list. He's one of the best nickels in the NFL. In fact, we have him as the number 4 nickel in our field vision individual havoc ratings. He can cover, and he can also play within the box. Today, we're going to look at a play against the Buccaneers and illustrate how the Lions set up their defense and how a modern nickel must play the box against the run. This play really is a microcosm of what the modern NFL defense wants to do and what offenses are trying to do. Now, first, let's look at the Buccaneers offense. We have a pistol formation in the backfield. This is something that has become increasingly popular because it really hides outside zone and inside zone. We're not getting a lot of zone read plays in the NFL. And in fact, I would argue that we're not getting a lot of RPOs. This is a play action based offense that we're seeing in the NFL, and the pistol really lends to it. On early downs, especially when you're not necessarily concerned about pass protection, you're not getting exotic blitzes, you're not getting defenses sending the house, it's okay to be in pistol. I think Sean McVay just recently talked about kind of how some running backs really get going downhill out of the pistol. And it's kind of one of those things too with quarterbacks, you're already giving them a little bit of depth off of this. So here we have the Buccaneers are going to be in the pistol, and they're just going to hand the ball off to the running back, and we're going to get a little bit of an RPO action over here. Now, this is what's important at the nickel spot. So the nickel really has to understand he has the B gap, right? We have the Mike in the A, and we have our Will linebacker in the B to C area, depending on how they're going to play this front. Now, what we have is a quarters coverage on the back end. So we have 7-man spacing in the run fit. Now, what we're going to get off of this is this nickel is going to take a shuffle and a shuffle back into the box, and he's going to be reading the quarterback. His vision cone is going to be on the quarterback. The nice thing about pistol is when you're a defensive player and you're primarily an overhang like we're looking at here, is that if the quarterback turns his back to you, I can be a quick fitter. If the quarterback turns to me, I'm going to shuffle, and then I'm going to hold. Now, the thing about Baker Mayfield is he is a right-handed quarterback. So he's not necessarily going to turn all the way around to look over here and then be able to throw the ball. If he's going to throw the RPO, it's going to be quick. It's going to be now. So these are things that you need to understand as a nickel defender. What handedness is the quarterback, and then how can he accelerate his throw? So even if he is going to throw an RPO, he's going to have the running back go away from this. This is not going to be a read side. If they had the stack over here, which would be to his right, he would be able to open up and put his throwing shoulder back and really be able to read any kind of RPO. But when it's actually away from the throwing hand, it's going to make that more difficult in pistol. These are little nuances of the game that I don't think are really taught to overhangs very often, and you can kind of get a sense of this. So he already knows right now that as a right-handed quarterback, it's going to be really difficult to throw the RPO. That thing's going to come off really quick. So even if I shuffle one step, I'm going to see it. I'm going to be able to plant and actually use my momentum to come back. Now, once we have the snap of the ball, the Buccaneers are going to run a regular kind of just a pin pull to this side. It's essentially just a belly G is what this would be, like kind of like an old school off tackle zone, but they're pulling the guard here. Now, what this does for the overhang, let's watch Brian Branch's technique. He's going to shuffle inside, He clearly sees the back of Mayfield, and he's now going to accelerate into the B gap. And this is how modern defenses, even in the NFL, are going to set this thing up, is that they are not going to heavy technique this defensive end. In the NFL, a lot of times they want these edge rushers on the outside, and they're really just going to build a wall. So what you end up getting is, even though you're getting this kind of belly, this down, this kind of pin pull look on the front side, is that you're going to get a clear lane of action for this nickel and where to fold. This is an easy drill to work too. If you ever want to run a drill, you just set up a cone where you want the overhang, and then you just set up two cones, and then you give the action run, and then he has to fit in it and meet the running back. Now, this is a good example of why Brian Branch is one of the best at what he does, even though he was a rookie. He's going to take a shuffle, and then he sees right now that the ball is in the belly, and he's going to accelerate to that open spot. Once he sees that the shoulder is horizontal, he can then attack horizontal, knowing that if he's going to bounce outside, he's going to need a round back over top. If it cuts back, he's going to be able to meet him and square up. Once you get into the box and you need to understand pursuit angles, we have a massive humanity over here. Once he gets into the box, you're going to see that he's going to get relatively square. This is what I really like about this technique. Once he sees that he is now vertical in the shoulders, he's going to square up. Right here, he's going to chop, and then he's going to meet him as thick as he possibly can. In a perfect world, you'd like him to be square, and you'd like it to be a left shoulder, left foot contact right here, but he does a really good job, and then he's going to then get the running back down. So let's go to the very beginning. He knows instantly right now that this is not going to be an RPO. This is not going to be a quick throw. If it is, they're playing cover 2 over here. He can now detach, and he can now accelerate to the near hip, tracking the running back. This is really good. So this is clinic tape of what a tracking should look like for a nickel, and really for any second level defender or any defender in fact. So he's going to look, you can see his eyes are on the near hip. He's going to track, and then he's going to strike, make contact, and then get the ball carrier down. Again, this is really good example of what a modern nickel has to be able to do. Even though we have 11 personnel, they could have easily put a wing in here. They could have put a tight end and motioned him in. They could have created any kind of a set. This would still fit the exact same to the passing strength. So we're going to get this kind of belly look. The nickel is going to track. You can see that we're getting kind of the nose is going to bury, the defensive tackle is going to bury into the A gap here. Off of this, we're going to get kind of the box, and then we're going to get an outside shoulder, inside shoulder, and then we're going to get this. So it's lever, spill, lever here, and you can see him is running right through this gap right here, and it's going to meet the running back. Clinic look at how an overhang should be fitting the box, but also why Brian Branch is one of the best nickels in the NFL.